Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I am here for my, I guess, twice yearly Sephora recommendations video. And I feel like I typically get on here and just tell you what I recommend, but I thought today I would get on and actually show you what I recommend and do a full face. Now, I do have more than one option in each category, and I'll kind of talk about the other ones as I apply one. I don't know, I just felt like this would be a way to mix it up. So the Sephora sale starts on the 27th if you are a Rouge member, and I will put all the other dates down below in the description box. Sometimes I go into the sale thinking I'm just going to be getting restocks of things that I need and know I use, and sometimes I go in thinking I'm gonna get some new stuff. I don't know what this time is gonna be like. I'm still working on my cart, and if I get everything in time, I'll do a haul for y'all. But right now, I'm just gonna kind of show you some of my favorites that you can get at Sephora. Now, I don't think you can get this at Sephora. This is the Clinique Airbrush Concealer. I really feel like you can only get this like at department stores and on Clinique's website now. It used to be a little more available. I will speed through this real quick and we'll start with things you can actually purchase there. Okay, foundation. I have 3 that I'm gonna talk about. And I haven't even decided which one I'm gonna use today. All right, I think I'm gonna use this one. So the 2 that I recommend, one is very new to me. In fact, I just tried it on camera a couple of weeks ago, but I really, really liked it and highly recommend looking into it. It's the Fenty Beauty Eavesdrop Blurring Stick Foundation. So I will put a card up to the video that I use this in. I am in the shade number 7. And it is a stick foundation that is a very natural finish, very pretty on the skin, wore really well throughout the day. This next one, I don't know that I've ever talked about on camera in a favorites or even a get ready with me, but it's the Haus Labs Triclone Skin Tech Foundation. And I have had a couple of people recently ask me if I have done a separate review on this. This is not new anymore, so I don't know if y'all are interested in that. If you are, let me know and I will for sure post one. But I do really enjoy this foundation, and I am in the shade number 200 Light Medium Neutral. The one I'm gonna use today is no secret about how much I love it, and I highly recommend stocking up whenever you can find a discount on this. And it's the Lancome Teint Idole Ultra Wear Foundation. Today I'm using the shade 310N. This is in my top 5 favorite foundations. It never, ever, ever, ever lets me down. It always wears beautifully. It is not super matte on the skin, but it also doesn't lean really dewy either. It's more marketed as a matte foundation, but to me, and I think you can see, it's definitely more natural. It doesn't pull very matte. Wears all day, lots of colors to choose from. Now they did change up the formula a little bit, and in doing so, the colors changed. And I think that's the biggest gripe from people that I've heard with this new formula, because really the wear time and the way it looks on the skin is not that much different to me. But because the colors are different, if you had a perfect match in the old formula, it may take a hot minute for you to find one in the new one, or you might not find an absolute as perfect match. That's the main con that I have heard about with the new formula. But this color works great for me. Formula is just spot on, amazing. A lot of y'all already know this, but if you don't, I am super, super, super picky with my concealers. Every week that I get older, I seem to get a little bit pickier because my eyes seem to get a little bit more finicky. They just don't love a ton of concealers. And when I looked at some of my very favorite concealers, only one of them is available at Sephora, but it is one that I very highly recommend. And it is the Lawless Conceal the Deal Concealer. This is such a good one. It is my favorite full coverage concealer. This is in the shade Ballet. And when I tell you you don't need a lot, you absolutely don't need a lot. So I just take the doe foot and tap, tap, and that's all I use. You'll see how far it goes. With using that tiny amount, I'm still starting to see bare spots within this tube. That's how much I use this. For being full coverage, it is not drying under my eyes. It does not crease or crack. It is just a very, very, very good concealer for me. And again, I'm pretty picky I still try new concealers, and I do have one in my cart that I do think is going to end up making it to the end that I'm very excited about trying. I still give concealers a chance, but it takes a lot for it to knock one of my favorites off the list. And so far, any other full coverage concealer has not knocked the Lawless off. I mentioned in one of my other videos that this is definitely going to be a repurchase because I'm getting very low, but the Ilia Fade Into You Soft Focus Finishing Powder is my favorite powder to set my under eyes with. So I'm going to do that really quick. Highly, highly recommend. I have gone through, this is my second one. And again, I'm about to get a third one. I use it every single day. As far as powders go, I pulled out a few of my favorites that you can get at Sephora. One I just used recently. This is the Say Air Set Radiant Loose Setting Powder. This is really pretty if you want a not too radiant, but definitely not matte setting powder that's going to look like powder on your face. This absolutely does not. If you want something that is even a little more radiant, I really like the Luminous Silk Glow Fusion Powder. This used to be called something else. I had it in another color and I went through the entire compact. So I got this shade number 4, and it is a glowy powder, but it doesn't make you look sweaty. It, again, just does not look powder, but it does like powder, but it does the job of setting your foundation. And probably my favorite, in fact, you'll see I have already hit pan on this, is the Lawless Perfecting Powder. Talc-free skin smoothing powder. This is in the shade Light. This can be used on top of a foundation to set it. It can be used by itself, almost like a powder foundation. I love the Lawless brush that is marketed to go with this powder, but I wanted to also show you a brush that I talk about in every single one of my recommendations because I think it's that good. I can't even tell you how long I've had this brush, but it is the La Mer powder brush. So I'm just going to make this spot where you can see the pan even bigger and set the Lancome with the Lawless. That's a lot of L's. Again, it adds a little bit of coverage, but it doesn't sit heavy on the skin. It mattifies at first, but as you go throughout the day, it kind of gives just a very natural, luminous look to the skin. And if you're someone who just likes wearing like a tinted SPF, this is perfect to go over that. If you feel like maybe it makes you a little shiny, to mattify it a little bit, but also give a little bit more coverage. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful powder. And you're probably gonna find this again in my yearly favorites because it has indeed been one of my favorites. Bronzers, no surprise, the 3 that I'm gonna talk about today. I don't quite know which one I'm going to use yet, but the Gucci bronzer, it's just good, y'all. Yes, it's Gucci. Yes, it's a little expensive. You're paying for the packaging and the name, but you're also getting a very good product. I'm not saying you can't get a very good product for cheaper, but I really find myself reaching for this a lot. If you look at it in the pan, has a little bit of sparkle to it, but honestly, it translates matte on my skin. Very, very pretty. I'm in the shade number 3. I can't speak to the other shades. I don't know what they look like, but 3 works great for me. The Hourglass bronzers, I just pulled out this one. This is the Diffused Bronze Light. The Luminous Bronze Light is also one of my very favorites. Hourglass does powder products like nobody else does powder products. So if you are in the market for a blush, a bronzer, a finishing powder, which I'm gonna show you, the palettes, like you won't be disappointed with any of them. Repeat purchases in my collection, which is hard to do with how much I have. And then the bronzer I'm gonna use today is this one that I really can't stop using lately, the Pat McGrath Labs Skin Fetish Divine Bronzer in Bronze Dawn. I feel like I used this in the past couple of videos and I almost wanna say sorry, but I don't because I truly use products repetitively when I love them, and I'm not gonna like just use something else to act like I really love them when this is truly what I have been using, and this is truly what I've been using. So I am gonna use this on the Sephora Pro Bronzer number 80 brush, which is a favorite bronzer brush of mine, especially if you like bigger bronzer brushes. It's very easy to just kind of stipple the product where you want it. If you have a super like small forehead or a lot smaller face, like I have a very long face, so I have a lot of real estate to work with. If you don't, this might be a little big for your taste. But if you like a big bronzer brush, definitely something to look into, because like I said, it's just kind of like stamp it on and it's good to go. For blush, I have 3 powder blush options and then 1 cream blush. The new Dior Rosy Glow shade in Rosewood, I've talked about this a lot. I love this color. It is so incredibly pretty. It's beautiful as an eyeshadow. It's beautiful as a blush. It is compact. I really like the size of it. It's gorgeous. It is gorgeous. I've not tried any of the other Rosy Glow blushes. I know like the pink one, the like Barbie pink one is super popular, but I have a couple of blushes in that shade. I didn't feel like I needed it, but this one, so good. Again, Hourglass does no wrong in powder products, and the blush in Dim Infusion is one of my favorite blushes of all time. I honestly don't know how I have not hit pan on this. It is such a gorgeous, peachy, beautiful shade, and I'll swatch the Rosewood for you too. The thing about these is that when you swatch them, sometimes you're like, oh yeah, that's not that much, but then you put it on the skin and you're like, oh yeah, I can see why people like that now. This is the Dior Rosewood, and I'll show you the cream option before I go on to what I'm going to use today. And this is from Merit, and this is their Flush Balm in Stockholm. So I have tried a couple of these and I like them. I can't remember which one is a little too dewy for me, but I really like this one. It's a very pretty pink shade, that like cool toned pink. And because it's a cream, it has a little bit of dew built into it. That's just the nature of that product, but it doesn't come off too much, at least this color. And I really like it. It's very pretty on the skin, very easy, nice, different packaging. And then the one I'm gonna use today is the Valentino Eye to Cheek Dual Use Blush and Shadow, which I talked about in my Blush as Shadow video. And this is in the shade number 8, Roman Sky. And I think I'm going a little more cool toned on the eyes today. And this one has a little bit of pink in it. It's peachy pink, but it works no matter what I'm using on the eyes and lips. And it's just very pretty. And then of course, I am gonna use my Hourglass Radiant Light Ambient Lighting Powder to buff the face, at least the lower part, everything but my forehead. Make sure there's no harsh lines. Now, notice I haven't done highlighter yet because I'm gonna use a cream. So I'm buffing now before I put any cream products on the skin, but it just kind of filters everything, gives that really nice finished look. Honestly, I'm a broken record with this product, and I will be until I stop doing YouTube videos, because it is something I have used for years upon years upon years, and I won't stop because it makes a huge difference. So let's talk about highlights. I have 2 that I'm gonna show you, and they're both creams. I really gravitate towards cream highlights lately. I'm not saying there are not great powder highlights out there. I'm not saying I still don't use powder highlights, because I do. But more than not, I find myself reaching for creams. Now, the one I'm not going to use, but I want to show you, is from Westman Atelier, and it is the Lit Up Highlighting Stick in the shade Nectar. Maybe I will use this one. Look at that. It's like a balm, right? It's just what it looks like. It's described as a peachy glow, which it kind of looks like in the bullet, but it comes off as just this like beautiful warm glow. The other one is no surprise. It is probably my favorite cream highlight of all time, and it's the Merit Highlighting Balm in the shade Kava. I also have Bounce, which is also a beautiful like rose gold shade, but Kava is right here. It's more of like a champagne. Which one do I want to use? I'll use Nectar, because I feel like I've used Kava so much on camera. And when I use these, I don't stripe them on my face. Typically, I am putting them over a powder. So I'll just kind of put them on my fingers and then just tap them on the high points. Now, yes, these are cream highlights, so they have a little bit of tack to them, but look at that. Oh my word. It's so pretty. I don't find it's enough tack to actually make my hair stick to my cheek, but if you're someone who absolutely can't stand any tackiness on the skin, then you're probably gonna want to stick to powder highlights or find one that's more of like a cream to powder. The only true cream to powder that I have ever tried is from Lila B, and they're no longer in business. So I can't personally recommend one. I feel like the Aeropress one might be a little bit cream to powder, but you can't get that at Sephora. I don't mind it though. Again, nothing sticks to it, and I love the effect these give on the skin. So let's hop into eyeshadow. And I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't have a ton of eyeshadow from Sephora. I feel like I use maybe more indie brands a lot lately, or single shadows and quads from other brands that you can't get at Sephora. But I feel like every year I recommend something from Natasha Denona, and this is gonna be no different. And it's simply because they're a little bit more expensive, they're very high quality, and there's lots to choose from. So the ones that I have and are not gonna use today, and I think you can still get these, the Sunrise palette, which I absolutely adore for blue eyes. I mean, all eyes are gonna look good with this, blue and brown especially. Such gorgeous shades in that. The bronze palette, I mean, a staple, warm, bronzy, lover's dream. The Biba palette, which is probably my favorite out of all of them, and one I recommend every single year. If you're someone who really does not like to keep a lot of eyeshadow options and just gets overwhelmed, you could have this, a few single shadows, and you wouldn't need anything else. Like, this is just everything that you need. And then the one I'm gonna use today is the newest one to my collection, the I Need a Nude palette, which is definitely more of a cool tone nude option. I'm gonna take Wit down here and use that in my crease. I just saw on, I think Instagram, that she's about to launch like a very smoky eyeshadow palette. It's a lot of grays and silvers and maybe a black. I think people were complaining there wasn't a matte black option, but that kind of color story. And a lot of people were saying it's too dark, but then I have heard people say that I Need a Nude palette is a little too light. So if you're someone who collects Natasha Denona palettes, it might be one to look at to have cool options both in light and dark. I won't be getting it because I don't use those shades enough to warrant purchasing it, but it's a nice companion palette to some of her other lighter ones. I'm gonna take Vague right here, which is a little bit darker than Wit. Wit had more of like a peachy pink undertone, and Vague is more of like a mauve undertone. And we're gonna kind of mix the two. I'm just gonna put that all over the lid. Another reason that I won't be getting that darker palette from Natasha Denona is because, and I've said this before, I really feel like consistently throughout all of her palettes, all of the shades look darker on the eye than they do in the pan. And if the shades look as dark in the pan as they do in the pictures, I can't imagine how dark they'll translate on the actual eye. And this is about as dark as I go, so it just wouldn't make sense for me to get that. And then I'm gonna take this really pretty shade called Sheen right here. It's a very kind of goldy shimmer shade, and top the Vague shade that I just laid down on the lid. I'm just gonna use my finger. And then I will use Silhouette, which is this really dark brown shade. Now this is not the same texture as her almost like cream to powder shadows in some of her other palettes, especially the Biba palette. That black in there is like one of my favorites for eyeliner. The formula is amazing, but this still definitely serves the purpose as a very dark brown, which I almost solely use as eyeliner. And then I'm gonna take a little bit of that Vague shadow that I used all over the lid, just to round everything out. I only have a couple of mascaras open at this time. One of them you can get at Sephora, but it's not my favorite. It's the Dior Show. And it's okay, but it's very, very, very natural looking. It's one I use if I'm like not wearing makeup and I just want to slap some lip gloss and mascara on. For me, I can't get much past like a super natural lash with that. I just got this one yesterday. It came with like a gift with purchase or something. And it's the brand new Anastasia Beverly Hills Volumizing Mascara. So I thought that I would try that one. This would be a first impression, so I will write down in the description box how I thought it wore. But I'm gonna put it on, I'll show you what it looks like after 2 coats on one eye versus nothing on the other. Okay, so this is 2 coats. Now, don't pay attention. I have some errant eyelashes that are so far grown out on this side, I can't fit them in my lash curlers. They always look a little wonky. But this is without me having to separate my lashes at all after 2 coats, which is not always normal because sometimes the mascara can clump up on itself and I'll have to separate, but I did not have to do that. So not bad. And I thought I would show you the brush too. So it's really nothing extra special, just kind of a little bit of a cone shaped brush, but I do appreciate again how it tends to separate the lashes on its own. So far so good. I will let you know, again, down in the description box how I felt it wore. Was it easy to take off? Did it flake off? Did it smudge? All of the good mascara information that you probably want to know. Now, lips. I feel like I talk about this every time, but it's because it's so good. The Armani Lip Power. This is in the shade number 102 Romanza, I think. I also have number 500. I would have to dig it out of my drawer, but that's more of like a cool tone pink. But this is just the most perfect nude in my opinion. I absolutely love it. I love the formula of these. Have a little bit of a gloss, as you can see. So I don't even feel the need to typically top them with a gloss. Also, the new or newer Lawless lipsticks. This is in the shade Daisy Girl, which I will use here in a minute, but it's a very pretty cool tone pink. Let me go ahead and put that on. So definitely nude, but that cool tone, like Barbie pink, which I absolutely love, especially when I have a more cool toned eye. And then I'm gonna top it with the Ilia Balmy Gloss Tinted Lip Oil. And this is in the shade Only You, which is again, is a very pretty cool toned pink shade. I also love the Merit lipsticks, the Merit lip oils. I will try to link those down below as well. And then finally, I will talk very quickly about my 3 favorite perfumes in my collection that you can get at Sephora. The first one is my favorite out of the favorites, and it's the Givenchy L'Interdit Rouge. And this is a beautiful ginger, effervescent. Some people say it's reminiscent of root beer. I maybe could see how you get that in the way back, but that is definitely not what I think of when I spray this. Highly, highly, highly complimented perfume. Whenever I wear this, someone says something. Chad always says something when I wear this. It's just very gorgeous. The tuberose is not as prominent in this as it is in the original. I have not tried the newest flanker that has come out, but I would like to smell that when I'm in the store next. But this one is just a go-to of mine. It has been in my like top 10 favorites for a very long, ever since I've gotten it. And I blind bought it, and it was probably the most successful blind buy in my entire collection. The next one is Lila Lou by Rosie Jane. I might actually look into getting another one by Rosie Jane if I can go in store and smell them. Oh, this one is your fresh cut grass, pear, just clean, fresh, white t-shirt fragrance. This is a natural fragrance line. It lasts forever on my skin. It is gorgeous and very, I feel like, unoffensive. I will wear this a lot like when I will work because it's just one of those that just smells like you're clean and fresh. It doesn't really even smell like you have a perfume on. It's so good. And then finally, one of my favorites for this time of year, the YSL Libre Intense. I don't love the original, but I love the Intense. The La Parfum is good too. This one is my favorite. It is a syrupy, lavender, vanilla goodness. It's just good. I talked about this in one of my lives with Abby about how this is like probably out of all the ones I have, if I were to be needing to feel uber confident, this is the one that I would wear. Like a job interview, or if I'm going to give a presentation, or something where I just really need my confidence boosted, or anybody needs their confidence boosted, this is the one I go for because it just gives me this feeling of, I have it together. Like I have it together. And yes, fragrance can do that, for me at least. And this one definitely does. So I will have those linked down below as well. Everything that I've talked about will be linked down below. I do use affiliate links, so if you choose to use them, you are helping to support my channel, and I greatly appreciate it. Let me know what you're looking at for the Sephora sale. Thank y'all so much for watching. Be sure and like and subscribe before you leave so you don't miss out on any future videos. And I hope you all go out and have a very blessed day.